Hello, Assalamualaikum and good morning everyone. So welcome back to IT Service Management BIT 3343A. We will continue our discussion about topic number 3, the Internet of Things, the IoT. Okay, so we will discuss about the definition of IoT, what is IoT itself, how IoT works, and how the ITSM be able to manage services that uh, come together with IoT devices. Okay. Alright, so first part of the class, which is the introduction of IoT and the relevance in the ITSM, the connection with IT service management. Okay, so first of all, what is IoT? IoT is the Internet of Things, refer to the network, physical object, the things itself. Okay, so physical means something that you can see, something that you can feel, something that you can hear and touch. Okay, and usually the device, the IoT device, because of it is a physical device. It usually have a sensor. Okay, have a software and able to process, the ability of process, and for example, like CCTV. Okay, CCTV is considered as the example of IoT. It has a sensor, it has a camera. Okay, a camera that able to capture an image, a moving object, or videos, and from the image it process into a data, and the data will be sent over in the network, and it will be stored in the network, in the server basically, and or maybe uploaded in the cloud environment or cloud infrastructure. Okay, and to process the data, it uses software, a firmware that will install in the device, in the CCTV, and the ability of processing the data and send over the data to the network, exchange with other devices over the internet. Okay, and the IoT can expand the service scope of ITSM. Okay, because of the we have a thousand of millions of IoT devices, and there is a vastly expanding the scope of what the ITSM should be able to monitor and support all these devices. And also the IoT is a real-time data streams. Okay, meaning that the IoT able to create a continuous data, generate a continuous data 24/7. For example, like the CCTV, it produce the image, a video recorded, and on, and the video will be saved or stored in the cloud environment. And also the IoT give a new service categories. So the ITSM should be able to integrate the IoT services such as a smart access tracking, for example, integrate with the automated building management system or some of the predictive equipment maintenance. Okay, the characteristic of IoT devices and what is the type of IoT devices. Okay, number one, it has a constrained resources, meaning that the IoT device have operate under severe hardware limitation. Okay, there is a constraint, a limitation. For example, like a minimum limited memory. Okay, or maybe the device have a low processing power, or maybe have power consumption or limited battery capabilities. It also have a heterogeneous ecosystem. Okay, meaning that a different hardware or IoT device manufacturer have its own environment of building or developing their own device. Okay, so for example, like Samsung have its own Samsung device environment. Apple has its own environment. Okay, And the consumer versus the industrial IoT. A consumer IoT will focus on individual product like the smart homes and wearables. Okay, for example, like a fitness watch. Okay, something that you can wear. And the industrial IoT focus on heavy manufacturing. Okay, and they, because of the business operation, they produce a product, and also they do a logistic support and some of the important or critical infrastructure. Okay, and also the IoT is an unintended operation. So the IoT nodes often deployed in remote environment, harsh environment, or very physical challenging environment or location. And it require a manual maintenance, and the physical resets is extremely as challenging. Okay, the IoT architecture and ecosystem layer. Okay, so we have the perception layer, the sensor actuator, and the physical foundation that collect the environment data. For example, like temperature. The IoT able to capture a motion or detection, and maybe a pressure, or maybe humidity, and able to execute the physical command based on the network instruction. The next layer, the network or the transport layer. So the IoT have a communication tier and responsible of transmitting raw sensor data securely across the network. Okay, and the third layer going to be have the processing and middleware layer. And during this, inside this layer, we have to filter the data, to aggregate the data, and also to normalize this unstructured data so that we're able to process and make the data meaningful. And once the data is meaningful, able to be is readable, it goes to the application layer. And from here, the top tier software interface, which is the user itself, will use this data by using the application or software. Usually we have a user dashboard or user control panel, and able to see the data. Okay, and the IoT communication protocol, we have the short range protocol for connectivity, Bluetooth, for example, Zigbee and Z-Wave. This is all a short range protocol for IoT devices. IoT devices also use low power wide area net, LP1. Okay, LP1. This protocol enable a longer range for data transmission, but in a minimal power consumption. Okay, and then we have the cellular and the satellite backhaul. So this is more on a mobile communication technology. The IoT use the mobile wave bandwidth, like for example like 4G and 5Gs. This is the latest technology in mobile communication. And also they use a satellite communication for a remote area with a wide geographical area from a different region or different location. Okay, and then the last one is the lightweight application protocol, like the MQTT and the COAP. This is for resource constrained device communication over high latency and unstable network. For example, like you are in the jungle, it is a very high latency and very unstable network environment. Okay, the IT service integration with IoT system. So you need to consider on make the integration between the IoT devices and the ITSM supports system management. Okay, so you need to know to extend the service catalog. You need to include all the firmware updates, for example, the sensor replacement, hardware and software spare parts. You need to consider the automated incident creation once the device or the sensor or the IoT have a failure, have service interruption, or downtime, it should be automatically able to send an alert, create or trigger an incident ticket to the ITSM so that you can manage the failed device accordingly. Okay, and your ITSM also should be able to configure a management database, CMDB expansion. You should be able to have a dynamic relationship between all the IoT devices assets that have the connection with the cloud backends environment and the business services. Okay, and also the integration should be able to help to handle the cross-functional collaboration from a different platform on different facility management department. Depends on the objective of the organization or the company. Okay, right. The IoT driven predictive maintenance and service management.